And yeah, when people say what happens when the engine stops, well, that's it.
So,
we glided in.
this happened.
There's some fish stories being told in the aviation world, and it's probably time for us to either break it or bust it.
Yeah,
what do they do in
Mythbusters?
Mythbusters?
It's just kind of a Mythbuster.
Yeah, let's either prove it, confirm it, or let's shatter that misbelief, and let's encourage people to go out and try this stuff for themselves. It's not a bad thing for you to turn the key on your airplane.
In the end, that's the whole thing, right? Is let's go play with airplanes, let's have fun, and let's really know. Let's really know our airplanes, and you should really know your airplane, because it's going to be different for everybody. Find out. We're going to go find out. I'm kind of excited.
And then I wanted to find out, how does it work with a Microlight trike flexwing? Let's find out.
Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 turns base, full stop, 17 Mirror.
Well, I'm just back from another mission. Why don't you come and join me now and watch what we've been up to. Enjoy this adventure. And maybe after you've watched this one, you might want to watch one of the other more than 300 videos on the channel regarding aviation and flying adventures with CrayonBox.
So yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to do a couple of approaches with idle and with engine off completely. We're going to debunk the theory of whether you can glide further with the engine on, idle, or with it completely shut down. So with the prop spinning or not rotating at all.
Well, it turns out I'm an idiot. Yep, an idiot. But you'll have to watch the next rebuild video to find out why. I learned something. Anyway, this video we're going to talk about the glide engine off and engine at idle. And as you've already seen the introduction, but I just wanted to explain a couple of things first. Pretty sure that's overexposed. So, initially I was going to glide from a height of 500 feet and the elevation of the runway is 43 feet. So you do the maths, that's about 407 feet of descent. But I found 457 feet of descent. So I found out that 500 feet wasn't enough after a couple of goes. So I then went to 1,000 feet and did the glide with idle, engine at idle, still rotating the propeller. And that was a better choice. But after reviewing all of the numbers, I found that I didn't even achieve 1,000 feet and I was quite inaccurate for some reason. I don't really know why. I guess because I had a bit to think about. I'm not as good as I thought I was. Maybe that's it. So rather than basing it on altitude versus distance and glide, and then having the variable of wind and other things to deal with like turbulence, I've still got all the numbers, but instead we'll look at it from a feet per minute loss or descent rate instead, and that should give us some fairly accurate statistics and numbers. And so what we want to look at in this video is obviously, do we glide further with the engine at idle or the engine off and the propeller completely stopped in a Microlight? Or is it different between different aircraft? I don't know about that. But you'll have to watch and we'll summarize it at the end of this testing. And I hope you appreciate what's been done here. And it's always a good exercise to learn your own aircraft and find out what its capabilities are. So stick with me, let's have a look at the tests and we'll conclude it at the end.
Let's go and do that. The time is now 20 to 8. We've got about a 5 knot wind down the runway, so we'll have a 5 knot headwind. That will reduce our gliding distance obviously, but it's a comparison, it's relative to each other anyway as to which is the furthest. I'll do a couple of attempts as well and we'll also hold the speed at 50 knots on approach in both cases. So how we do this is basically, I'm going to go and test it out in terms of where is the best place to start idling and gliding. And then from there I'm going to be pretty safe to do the actual engine shutdown and glide as well. And we'll use the same location from 500 feet and glide approach both attempts multiple times. Alright, so we've got 32 degrees, we're warming up, everything is set to go, radio's on, switches are both working, trim position set, altitude, altimeter, whatever you say in the UK, altimeter. We say altimeter, seems to be the norm here. It's funny, isn't it? What's the correct one? There probably isn't one, it's whatever it is in your area. Whatever works. You've got to use the language that people understand. So Twin Fisher, throttle, wings, wind and wires. So throttle, we've got throttle there, we've got this throttle's working. We've got wind from the south, straight down the runway about 5 knots. We have an emergency landing procedure. If we are below 500 feet, be straight ahead. If we're above 500 feet, we should be able to turn back onto the other runway here, 30, and if we are even probably 500-600 feet, we can probably get back onto the main runway, but we will be landing with a tailwind. Alrighty, we won't have time to fiddle with fuel and switches and everything, that's for sure. Harness and helmet, radio is set, and we're good to go. Radio and recording is rolling. Maryborough traffic, Microlight 6340, taxis from the hangars to the apron, Maryborough. So first we'll go out and do a circuit, get everything fully up to speed and temperature. I mean, in each of these cases we'll be doing a full circuit anyway. Maryborough traffic, Microlight 6340, enters backtracks 17, Maryborough. Clear. Good. Let's go. Temperature 49. Turn that off. No hawks on the runway, always useful. And then they fly back in front of you. How stupid. They're going to play chicken today again, are they? The hawks that want to be chickens. I guess you've heard about the one about the chicken that was in the run with the other chickens and its mates, and that's how it grew up as an orphaned chicken. And over the years it decided, like, actually I think it was a turkey, doesn't matter either way. We were talking about chickens, so we'll go with chickens. And the chickens all grew up and they started to learn to fly. And all his life, this poor chicken, the orphan, thought it was only able to scratch and peck around on the ground and fly as high and free as the chickens could in the coop. Little did it know one day when it looked up into the sky and saw this majestic bird flying and soaring high, and it decided, hold on a minute, I look like that. All its life it had been grounded, and now it realised, I'm a hawk, I'm an eagle, I can soar, and off it went. And it found freedom at last, but it wasted all those years. Are you one of those pilots, or one of those budding pilots that are just waiting for nothing? Mate, do something about it today, make something of it now. Maryborough traffic, Microlight 6340, lines up rolls 17 for left-hand departure and remaining in the circuit, Maryborough. Right, switches, voltages, temperatures. Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 is airborne, runway 17, left-hand circuits. Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 turns downwind to runway 17 for a touch and go. Mirror. Right, so this first attempt is going to be a glide with 500 feet and engine at idle. So we're going to look for our datum, if you like, our point of idle, and I'll suss it out from 500 feet shortly, and then we'll have an accurate point to start the idles from, and then of course the engine off. Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 turns base 17, touch and go. Mirror. So we're going to start 500 foot down to descent. Let me know if the audio is better this morning. I made a slight adjustment. I don't want to be in too close for this either, because that'll stuff up my results. And there's no traffic, nothing on the radio. There's 600 feet. I reckon it's going to be over these sheds actually. I'm going to start the glide. There's 500 there, hold the 500. Oh, I've lost too much. I'm so used to keep coming down. Okay, yeah, we'll do it over the road here, I think. Oh no, over this big shed below me now. Okay, so engine idle. And we're going to maintain 50 knots. If I can. No, that is best glide, but we need energy and I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to hang here. Okay, no, 60 is going to be safer. I can tell you, because it's a bit turbulent. So our first attempt about 60 knots. We are going to hold off. How far can we glide? Hold it off. There you go. Okay, that's about there. I don't know. I'll have to look at the camera. Let's do another one of those to practice. Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 is downwind 17, touch and go. Mirror. This is very good practice as well for maintaining your height and speed and everything else as well, obviously. I can't advise you do this unless you can do that. Can't advise you do this on my experimentation anyway. You shouldn't be doing it. You should be doing it with an instructor if you're not sure what you're doing. That's for sure. Things get really messed up closer to the ground if you're not careful. And you need to be onto it, and you need to be able to respond ASAP. And there's only one thing I like, it will hone your speed, like it will up your skills. Anyway, if you're a pilot, you train, you should know what you're doing. Shouldn't have to tell you. Don't mean to tell you either, by the way. Just trying to be safe. This helmet needs something fixed on it. Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340, turns base 17, touch and go. Mirror. I was trying to get established at 500 sooner, stabilised, and then go to idle. Go out a bit wider this further, a longer final. Every square, I tend to kind of drift further away from the runway to try and make sure I've got enough room, which means I'm turning too early. Alright, there's 700 feet. The little road here I can use as a reference actually. Okay, nothing on final, turning. There's 600 feet. Put some power on, maintain. Now there's that big shed we want. Be a good reference on Google as well to measure distances if we need to do it that way. There's 500 feet. Maintain 500 feet. I want 60 knots as well. Okay, the approach is going to be 60 knots. down, 60 knots. 60 knots. Steady and go easy on the controls. Smooth inputs. Alright, round out, ground effect. Okay. It's really important, I think, too, that we do average this, because with a bit of wind, it's going to be some variations with all the corrections. Where are my hawk buddies this morning now? Where have they gone? They were just orbiting this morning, just before, in a thermal or something, just circling near the runway, in the way. Right, this is the last one I need to do with idle, I reckon. Maybe I should do it from 1,000 feet, see how far it glides. That's probably a better idea. Alright, let's do that. Let's stay in the circuit, do a couple of 1,000 feet once, and that might give me a bit more indication on the glide distance. More time to measure there'll be more distance, more difference, relatively speaking, to the different comparisons. So what does that mean? More relative comparison difference? Going to need a little bit more room this time on the approach. We're going to be at 1,000. It's not really kosher, but anyway. There's no one here. This is training, practice. There's a drive-in movie theatre, a derelict one, down here. Miramar traffic, Microlight 6340 turns base for a touch and go 17 Miramar. Yeah, so this is an old drive-in. Oh, I've missed it. Somewhere, it's right here. Oh, it's further up. There it is there. Okay, so this big shed here. It's on the edge of the last commercial industrial hangars areas. And now we're going to turn. We're going to do 1,000 feet. We're going to turn now. 1,000 feet, and I think we use that road that I was talking about before to line up on as a reference to start the glide from 1,000. That's too late. No, we'll do the dam. There's a big dam. Alright, there's 1,000 feet. Get our speed right now. We've got to get the right speed. Yep, okay. Power off. We've got to maintain 60 knots. Yeah, I'm losing 1,000 feet per minute. I thought I was supposed to be able to glide at 500 feet per minute. Oh, I'm doing 60 knots though, and it is a bit turbulent. Yeah, that's a big glide. 60 knots. I think the next one's going to have to be the engine off, because I know I can make it with the engine on. Alright, hold off. Greaser landing. Wind's slightly getting a turn on it. Okay, we'll make this a 1,000 foot approach from the dam, engine off. Got to watch the weather too. There's a bit of cloud over here. I'm not sure where it's going to go. There are showers off the coast at the moment. That was a big thermal vent, little bit of turbulence under these clouds. So things are starting to get a little bit noisy here, rowdy. Checking for aircraft. So we have to do this idle now. Engine off now. And this will be the definitive. I'm not going to do a couple of these. I'll just do the one, just for safety. You know how it goes. The more you repeat something, more you're asking for trouble sometimes. Now I know 100% I can make the runway, so that's all good. Miramar traffic, Microlight 6340 turns base 17. Touch and go, Miramar. Okay, I'm going quiet. Got to turn the engine off. Just gauging the air at the moment. We're getting stabilised on an approach, 1,000 feet. Slow down a bit, get to 60 knots. And this is the big test, guys. Here we go. Lost a bit of height there, actually. It's not a good test at all. Okay, here we go. Where are they? Engine off. Okay. And now we're a bird and we've got to maintain 60 knots. How quiet is that? It's about 50 feet lower than I want it to be. This is what happens when you glide, okay? So if I need more energy, I'll pull the bar in. So far, well, I'm not going to say, but I feel like I'm going a bit further. Got to stretch the ground effect glide as well, of course. Okay, there it is. And we're down. Switches on. And start. And roll. Feel like I should do another one. Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 turns downwind, 17, touch and go in Mirror. I really don't know how that distance ended up. I wouldn't say it was dramatically different. I think having the 1,000-foot approach is the best way to do this. Doing 65-ish knots, 4,000 RPM, straight level. Just anyone wondering? Fuel burn like this is about 9 litres an hour. I guess in a way this is an extension of when I was doing the engine failure after takeoff type videos, because well, I've never been in an aircraft, well I have during training, you know, like, but I've had an instructor in the back seat when the engine's actually off and gliding back to the runway. So Mirror traffic, Microlight 6340 turns base 17, touch and go Mirror. Yeah, so as I was saying, like, to not hear the noise can be a little bit disconcerting, but you've got to have faith in your skills, you've got to know what you're doing, you've got to have experience, and you've got to know the aircraft, you've got to have faith in the aircraft. And yeah, when people say what happens when the engine stops, well, that's it. We glide it in. As long as we've got somewhere to glide it in too, and of course there's more pressure on you when the engine has stopped. I mean, if you're gliding in with the engine at idle, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we'll just power off and go around. Now, a good technique as well is to turn the switches back on after I've killed the engine, which I didn't do last time. And that's so we can emergency restart without having to worry about switches. Alright, we're at 1,000 feet, established on final. This one's looking a little bit higher, which is good. 1,000 feet. And there's our point. So, engine at idle. Switches off. Bar in. Establish 60 knots. Hold the 60 knots. Switches on. Now that the engine's completely stopped. Maintain speed. Hey Giles, I sound like you repeating and saying everything out loud. It's good practice really, just reinforces it in your head as to what you're doing and what you need to be doing. Right, 60 knots maintaining, we're at 400 feet. We want to keep, okay, a bit fast, 60 knots, just hope this turbulence isn't too much. I don't think I'm going to have much chance of restarting now. Just maintain some energy and do not slow down too early. And get to the ground and then ground effect it. And of course, one thing to know is, okay, and that's it. Start. Engine's idling. We're going. One thing to know what was I going to say? We're going to go and do some flying. That feels like it's running a bit rough actually now, as a result of turning it off and back on. Oh, it's cleared now. Did it last time too. I guess it gets a bit of fuel through the system and it has to blow it out. It's interesting to note. Microlight traffic, Microlight 6340 is airborne 17, departing the circuit to the out to the east. Microlight traffic. Well, I hope you liked the video. I'll go for a quick fly now, and if you want to see the extended versions of any of these videos, and thanks for watching. Don't know if there's anything else. Oh look, if you're enjoying my videos and you want to show your support, just go to the link in the description below and you can buy me a coffee. You can pay in whatever you want, $1, $2, $50, I don't mind. But it all helps with the channel and the growth and me to produce these videos, and I know that I'm getting support for this, because sometimes it's very lonely out there. Anyway, back to the studio, we'll summarise what's just happened.
All right, so we just flew directly from doing our tests out to, I don't know, the dirt, to review what our results were. Now, I looked at mine. My glide at 60 miles an hour at idle, I should say, was 1 minute 53 seconds to go 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And when I had the prop stopped, it was 1 minute 40 seconds. So it was 13 seconds quicker.
Yeah.
So I was descending faster.
So I kind of had the same result, and I'm almost done. I recorded the whole thing, but what I definitely found at best glide in my airplane with my prop, find out for yourself, it's good exercise, that with the prop stopped, I did better than the engine off with the prop windmilling by 50 feet per minute. So I had better glide with the prop stopped than windmilling, but not by much, surprisingly. But the biggest, longest glide was definitely, you know, engine at idle. So for me, the big lesson is, if I learned, for me in my airplane, if my engine quit me in that airplane and I knew it wasn't going to start up again, I would pitch up to almost a stall to get the prop stop. It would give me a tiny bit more gliding distance as I head down for best glide. But the simulated engine off practice, thinking you're going to make the runway every time, and then real world engine off and prop still windmilling, if I practiced it and made myself perfect at hitting the numbers, I would come up short in the real world. So that's why we aim for the middle of the field and anticipate a loss in glide when the engine's actually off.
You might want to watch one of the other more than 300 videos on the channel regarding aviation and flying adventures with CrayonBox.